Today I'm going to talk about implicit bias in police data and lessons that we learned in reproducibility and transparency. So I'm part of a research project that is doing some work with the District Attorney's Office of Vermont. And what we're trying to do is facilitate better conversations between citizens and the District Attorney's Office, specifically with the police force. And understanding the context of this is important. So Vermont is about 1% Black, but 8.5% imprisoned, make up the imprisoned. And in 2013, Vermont became one of the few states in the nation for having a driver's privilege license for undocumented immigrants. However, the DMV began releasing some of this information to ICE, and a group within Vermont sued the state of Vermont and ICE for this. So in 2017, Vermont stopped using facial recognition technology. So understanding this context, Vermont's District Attorney's Office wants to make things better. And what we're doing is using DUI impact arrests to think about ways in which there's implicit bias in the system. So the way that we want to think about it is starting in sort of a robustness approach. So we're looking at ways in which we can not just affect the system immediately, but long-term, and ways in which it can kind of improve over time. So kind of a site reliability approach. And we came up with this acronym called TREE. So the first part of it is we speak to domain experts. We come in not as experts in the field, but in trying to understand the system that exists and not to enforce a technocentric way of social reform. So data is not just data, it's usually codified proxies, proxied relationships. And this includes understanding that there are some things that data does not encode. For example, when we have DUI arrests, are there differences in gender or differences in age that affect the ways that citizens can react to the police force or in DUI arrests? And one of the other issues that we came across was whether we should collect our own data or use existing data. In this case, we are working with the District Attorney's Office to collect our own data because there are some things that we found in pre-existing studies that did not cover what we were the relationships that we were trying to work on. So the other aspect is we're trying to understand the flaws of data that already existed and data that we collect. Sorry, oops. So some of the data that we collected has things like free text, which are subjective. And so we have to find ways of measuring correlations, but not spurious causations. And we want to measure this data with metrics such as that can evaluate fairness. One of the other methods that we're trying to employ in our system is to figure out what is incorrect about our model. So what is the worst impact case that we can have, because we want to employ this system long term. And this is also an understanding the history of the relationship between the citizens of Vermont and the police force. So we want to build trust long term over time. Finally, we want to make sure that our data set can be, well, we can't fully open source it because it contains PII, but we can create proxies like synthetic anonymized versions or results that can tell the citizens more about how police implicit bias is shown in DUIs. And we want to show in our study flaws of our model so that people can learn from the model and the District Attorney's Office can improve upon methods that already exist in future study.